had another question, which was just curiosity. You turned to English the answers, because, well, the answers are about good speakers of English.
Yes.
I just wanted to know.
Yes, those are,
what is important for you is just to show us.
Yes, these are all, of course, all of this, there was no translation here. The learners are all using English, because these are all English language learners. So they are, in fact, they are speaking English. Because Uganda is one of those countries where English is the official language, even though there are over 60 languages in the country.
Yes, yes.
There are over 60 languages, but there is, English is the official language, and that's the colonial heritage.
The common language.
Exactly.
Yes, because I said,
that's amazing.
Seems like a second language.
Exactly. It is a second, in fact, it's a third, fourth, or fifth language for many of these learners.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, John.
The slide that you had with Ava. Do I need it? Okay. The slide that you had with Ava, I found fascinating because the exchange with the customer was one where he said, do you think you're going to get more tips speaking that accent, right?
Yes.
He didn't say, do you expect to get any tips speaking that accent? So I was curious about her accent, because even though her comment said that she wished she didn't have the accent because she wouldn't have to hear such comments, clearly he thinks that the accent that she speaks is potentially tip-worthy.
Which is very interesting, exactly. Right. Well, you see, the thing that I find so fascinating about that case as well, Eva and Julie, Kelly and I have done collaborative research. How significant is it that these are both Polish, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, attractive, young, lovely little girl? So how important is that also in terms of the way, these that these young women are being positioned?
Probably as important as being Southern Italian.
That's exactly right. You were talking about the Southern Italian male, exactly. So you see, these things are very, very interesting, and how it's very difficult to kind of pull them apart in many ways when you're doing this kind of research, because I think these are all integrated in very important ways. Yes. Yes, Anne. Oh, I'll take Anne and then I'll...
Do you have a serious comment? That's a lighthearted comment. So here's a serious.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, I've been working with English learners for a long time. And I encounter that a lot of times they come with very low first language academics.
Yes, exactly. Literacy particularly.
Yes. So their background knowledge is very poor in their own language, not saying in English.
Yes.
So what do you advise me to go with a better tool to help them?
Yeah. That's a very interesting and complex question, because the issue is that for some learners of English who speak another language, the first question to ask is, does their mother tongue have a written form? Because not all languages have a written form, so that's one issue, right? If the language has a written form, obviously, to the extent that it's possible for a person to become literate in the mother tongue, as we know from Jim Cummins' work and many others, that would be much more productive to then move from the mother tongue and literacy in the mother tongue to move to literacy in English. But today we were talking about indigeneity in Latin America, and you see, there may be people who may be indigenous who may not have, or perhaps they don't know the literacy of their mother tongue, but they may know Spanish, for example. They may have a certain knowledge of that Spanish. So that may be, again, a transition, into perhaps learning English. But that is a major issue. And I mean, it's the whole bilingual, talk about California, Arizona. I mean, the whole point about bilingual education was to get, to encourage children to be literate in the mother tongue and then transition to English. And that's, come under a lot of attack. And part of it is that parents also don't understand how important that is for a child to be literate in the mother tongue, and how that actually promotes language learning, in other... So part of it is making parents aware of how important that is. But, I mean, there are probably a good number of you in this room today whose parents said, first learn English and then were horrified when in fact, you know, the kids lost their mother tongue or lost competence in the mother tongue.
Do you guys in Canada have immersion where you go into the classroom into a French or English only class, even when the student does not perform in their first?
Well, there is that. There has been work that, well, not that there certainly are people who go into, for example, French immersion that might be, say, from Korea. Diane Dagenet has done some very interesting work, and parents would rather send their kids to French immersion than to the local, you know, elementary school where it's English. But that's a very complex question because it's also dependent on the fact that, well, for one thing, parents have a cosmopolitan view of language. It's good to have different languages, that they see that. But also, they think children might get a better education within the French immersion. There are many facets to that. And what the parents often teach the kids at home. The parents teach the kids English at home. They teach the kids the mother tongue, but the school then, you know, teaches the French. So, often you find it's a very middle class phenomenon actually. That if parents have got resources to help kids, you know, develop literacy in the mother tongue, then they send them to these immersion programs. Thank you. So your light-hearted comment, Anne.
Well, I guess situated here near Hollywood, when you turn to the first slide after the picture of your family, Linda and I heard you say that you were talking to Marilyn Monroe. So I don't know what you said.
McDermott? No, was this
I heard Marilyn Monroe.
Well, you know what I would think? I don't think you're a very receptive receiver. I don't think, you know.
Because we both looked at each other and I swear you said, I was talking to Marilyn Monroe. And we were thinking, that's rather amazing. She's actually buried very near me. You heard that too?
Yeah.
I was talking to Marilyn Monroe. Oh, yes, it's Marie Monroe. Oh, right. So you see, this is your schema. It's still a sympathetic, yeah. But Marie Monroe, that's right. He does a lot of work
I'm glad we're
with
not
accents. Exactly. Well, that's a very sympathetic kind of link to the conversation.